Hi, hi, hi. Good day. Good day to everyone listening to us. I am Beverly Clarke
Rebecca Franks.
and welcome to our podcast, TechJourney Insights, where we discuss what is grabbing our attention in the world of tech, and we also share our journeys through the world of tech. Welcome. So, Rebecca, what is grabbing your attention currently?
So the thing that is grabbing my attention at the moment is I don't know how new it is, but it's called Synthesia,
Mhm.
and it's a website that I think you can subscribe to it. I'm assuming it's probably got some cost to it. But what you can do is you can upload a PowerPoint to it,
Mhm.
and it looks a little bit like PowerPoint when you get into it. And then at the bottom of every one of your slides, you can write a script. So when you've written that script, you can then get it to generate. So you can choose an avatar, you can choose how it narrates, so the accent, even the language, and all those
Oh,
things.
wow.
And
Oh,
you
my
press a
gosh.
button, and it will just take your script and generate it with an avatar. So you then get this voiceover for a PowerPoint and it job done. We don't need learning designers or teachers anymore. It could just do it all for you with this little thing. So it's a little bit scary, but it is quite useful as well, especially if you do have to make a lot of content and you've already written your scripts and all that kind of thing. Maybe it's helpful. It is a good tool. I'm not saying it's not a good tool. It definitely is. The thing that concerns me though is what you can do is you can make your own avatar and you can get it to train on your voice and the way you speak,
Mm.
and then you can make your own content, which I think is great if you're the content creator and you own that material that's being made. But what got me thinking was, what if you work for an education company or a school or any business really?
Any
Yeah, any
organization. Yeah.
organization, and you train your avatar for that company and your
Mm.
voice, what happens when you leave the company? So, what happens to your avatar? Who owns your avatar? Because I know that I've created video content for other
Mm.
education companies before, and I know I've been paid to make that product, and now they own that product and they can use it as many times as they like. I know that. But when it's an avatar and you can create new content with your
Mm.
likeness and your voice, something doesn't sit right with me there. And I think if I was asked to do that for another company and it wasn't my content, I would definitely want some kind of contract there that said, well, it can only be used for this specific purpose. If I leave the company, you can no longer use my avatar. It gets deleted or whatever from the system. But I don't know if there are laws in place to protect you in that sense. Because if the
Mm.
content
Mm.
is made on company time, I think it belongs to the company, but are we entering a new sort of grey area with AI technology here?
I would say straight off, it's like, wow. But I think that it's probably owned by the company. But I think it'd be great to hear from a lawyer and someone involved in AI ethics who
Hmm.
maybe has a completely different insight and would be happy to share with us what they think. And I think
Yeah,
this is one of the reasons we do this podcast, is to have
yeah,
these discussions and to bring them to the fore, because it isn't just about using new tech and what tech does, it's how it's being deployed and the impact upon all of us. I personally would feel it's a bit of a violation if
mm,
my voice is being trained, a model has been trained with my voice and then it's being used because Beverly Clarke is being represented in that way, and that isn't actually me. So currently, I would need something to say that's not me. Or
yeah,
maybe we need some sort of disclaimer to say, using the voice of Beverly Clarke from year so and so, but not currently. It's all a
mm,
bit, convoluted at this point if we're
yeah,
going to go down that road. But these are things that we should be training our young people on. I mean,
yeah,
I quite like what you said just now. I mean, perhaps a bit contentious. We don't need learning designers, or perhaps we don't need teachers anymore with this new tech. You
yeah,
know, is education going to change?
yeah. And I think that's it. We're definitely heading for a new era, and we've got to think, well, how do we work with this technology?
Mm.
I think it's a really good technology. I'm not saying it's, I think it could be brilliant in terms of Sometimes you just get sick of talking for hours and hours creating video content. If you can just write your script and it just does it for you in your likeness, that's going to help you out for that. But something doesn't sit right with me when somebody else can use your avatar and your voice to create new content, because then you're not part of that design process.
Mm,
And they might do it to say things that are factually incorrect, for example,
absolutely. Yes.
or things that you don't believe in politically, or where you don't know what area it's going to go down. And I think this is probably why, obviously, a lot of actors are striking at the
Mm,
moment because of AI, to try and get those laws in place and those contracts right, so that when they are using AI in the film industry or wherever it is, there's protections in place for those people that are their likeness and their voices being
mm.
used. But I can definitely see it changing education. Where it's going to go, I don't know. But I don't really think that learning designers and teachers are, because you're always going to need some that authenticity, I think, and that's we do humans, we want authenticity, and the more and more AI generated content that I see, the more bored I'm getting, to be honest. It all looks the same, it all sounds the same. And I do think at some point we'll want to go back to that authentic, natural self. But it'll take a tipping point. We've got to learn to how to work with the technology. That's where the skills are. Learning how to work
Mm,
with
mm.
the technology so that it can make us go faster, but not like replace us in that sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I scroll my feed now and there's so many images and it's like that's clearly not real.
Yeah.
It's an AI generated image. There's this whole thing of the AI tone of voice. So
Mm.
all of the text that's been generated from tools such as ChatGPT, it's all got this voice. It's
Yeah.
elevate, unleash. You could see
Yeah.
it all of the
Delve. I'm gonna
time.
delve into this.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, get a thesaurus and change some of these words. You can use it as an idea generator, but
Yeah.
let's bring your authentic self to
Mm.
whatever you're saying. Um, so the Associate Professor Deirdre Hughes talks about the trough of disappointment in regards to
Mm.
AI. And I really like that phrase. I've heard her speak before on this, and putting too much reliance on artificial intelligence systems.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely spot on when you say, we are people, human beings need to talk to each other. We
Mm-hmm.
need to see each other. We need to see reality, because these images, we have no idea what people might forget what people look like very soon.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
everything is on a screen,
Yeah.
and we're just used to seeing a version of a model has been trained on, and
Mm.
we need human connections, really, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm just going to pause there and say welcome to anyone who's listening to this podcast for the first time, Tech Journey Insights, with myself, Beverly Clarke, and my co-host,
Rebecca Franks.
thank you so much. And we're former teachers. We now run our own businesses. I've got a portfolio career encompassing a few different things. So check out our LinkedIn profiles and our Twitter, or we're all across social media. Rebecca, your company is involved with.
Yeah, so I'm director of Flip Computing. I'm co-founder with two other amazing women. We set up our company last year, and we're all about inclusion first computing, essentially. So giving people access to great computing education.
Fantastic. So very much on the computing. I go more on the tech side, and I do speaking. We're both authors, so we've written books for different audiences, children and for adults also. So we're involved in tech and immersed in tech. We see the benefits of tech, but we also want to talk about the impact and the downfall. And please do follow us, as I mentioned, on LinkedIn or on our social handles. I personally am at Miss B Clarke. And Rebecca, you are
I'm typically in most places Frank's Becky High, which is a strange handle, I know, but that's where we've got to.
or strange Twitter handles, but we'll pop them into the links so anyone can
Yeah.
follow us. And it's of course we are here on this channel at Tech Journey Insights. Now, I've got some big news. Well, we've got some big news to share with you
Yeah, we
listening.
do.
With our commitment to tech, we have set up a charity. I've just mentioned we're both authors, and we just noticed there was a space, a gap around technology books for children. So guess what? The name of the charity is Technology Books for Children. Okay, how innovative! So it's here to serve, parents, families, teachers, educators, anyone with an interest in technology books for children. Because if you look at bookshelves out there, there's lots of fantastic stories by amazing authors, but there is a gap around technology books for children. So I'm the founder and CEO, and I invited Rebecca to join me, and you are the
Chair of Trustees.
fantastic. Thank you so much again for
Yeah.
joining me. I do ask Rebecca lots of questions during the week, and we're also joined by a few other amazing trustees. So head on over to our website, have a look. If you can help us with sharing the message or donating or sponsoring, reach out. We want to change the world through technology books for children. We want to spark the imagination. So you imagine reading for pleasure on tech topics. And it isn't just for children, it's for families and parents to get involved and to talk about tech. We really want to normalize technology, not something to be scary, but tech is here to be embraced. So please do join us on that mission. And the handles are at Tech Books number four, kids. Okay, so I'll put all of that in the comments and hopefully see some of you on this journey. So that's our big news, quite exciting. And that's what I mean by portfolio careers. We see needs and we develop those needs. So there is quite a lot to us. We're multi-dimensional women in the world of tech. Okay, so it brings me on to something else that's been going on. And just announced this week is that TikTok, perhaps you're listening to us on TikTok, have released a STEM feed, a dedicated STEM feed with lots of videos around STEM. So if you don't know what STEM is, it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So if you're a parent who doesn't know what STEM is, there is a shortfall in STEM skills and STEM education. So we'll put links into news articles on this, but we are just cheering this channel on because we think it's a great way. Education can possibly change with this STEM feed. I don't know what your thoughts were, Rebecca.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting, and it's good as well that it's going to be fact checked as well and curated content, which I think is really, really good because there's a lot of misinformation around in science and technology. So making sure that it's accurate is a really, really important thing. But also being able to see, I mean, I follow quite a lot of women in STEM on TikTok, and there are some amazing accounts out there who talk about what it's really like and then try and sort of encourage people to get into tech and STEM and those sorts of careers, but also talking about some of the barriers that we face and how can we overcome them and just carrying on the conversation. Um, so I think there's some great content already, and it's good that it's going to now have its own dedicated place that's curated and fact checked, which I think is really, really useful.
Mm.
Um, and hopefully it will help reach other audiences as well. We know that teenagers are on TikTok for now until they choose a different platform, but for now that's where they are. And hopefully, if 1 in 10 of the posts that they see are something to do with fun STEM careers, then maybe they'll get inspired.
I mean, it's great. There's one of the best examples of this in action is JGM Tutors. Now, he is science based and he's got an amazing TikTok following, and he teaches secondary school science topics through really short, informative TikTok videos. So there's definitely a space for this. It's bite-sized clips. It just gets to the point in an engaging and innovative way. And we, with the charity, I should mention, our TikTok channel has not been launched as yet. So if any aspiring TikTokers with a tech interest would like to join us, please do reach out, because this is a channel that you can help to build with getting tech out there, and it's really, really important. So we know the great work being done with science. There is a space to do great work with tech. So just to mention that out there. So it's really good that TikTok have come on stream with this. And it just brings me to some of the new types of jobs emerging in the STEM sector. There's lots of conversations all of the time at all levels, from government levels all the way down, around new jobs. And we frequently have the headlines of what about the future of work? Is AI taking away jobs? Is tech taking away jobs? What new jobs are being coming? What are being replaced? What's coming next? And so I consulted ChatGPT to find out what jobs had emerged since 2023, so not too long ago. And I'll just read them to you. So new types of jobs created since 2023. Now, if anyone finds this to be very different, please do let us know, and maybe we can have a conversation about fact checking after them. But just as a quick search, virtual reality experience designer, a totally new job.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence ethics consultant. Now, I know we still need that one, considering what we just spoke about.
Yeah.
Blockchain developer, so all things cryptocurrencies. Sustainability officer. Remote work coordinator. These are all new jobs. There's also another new job I came across, the prompt engineer.
Yeah.
So I had to go away and also use Google this time. What skills does a prompt engineer do? And there's a really fantastic article from Amazon AWS, which breaks down exactly what is prompt engineering. So while some jobs are disappearing, here are some great new ones. So I think tech is there to be embraced. Remember, it's not just engineering, developers, scientists, but there's also the application and impact. So there is, say, for example, how is tech being used in the hairdressing sector? You've got that new Amazon hair salon in Liverpool, by Liverpool Street in London, which utilizes a lot of Amazon tech within the salon. So that's just one example. So it's just how is tech being used throughout society? How is it being used in agriculture, for example? So there is a lot going on. There's but the tractors, they're self-driving tractors now. So what's a farmer going to do? Great to hear from a farmer out there. So there's so much going on with tech. It's like wow, wow, wow. It's mind blowing. We're really living through change at the moment.
Yeah, it's very rapid. I think that the prompt engineering is a thing. It's a skill that I think probably quite a high percentage of people are going to have to learn, because that clearly isn't going away. And you see it in, like, if you're using most IT tools now, there'll be a little use AI to do whatever in the
Yes,
corner,
yes.
and you'll put in, can you do this for me? And it'll do something and it won't be quite right, and you have to adjust what you're saying, and and that is prompt engineering. It's developing that way to ask for the thing that you need and get the thing that you need on the other end. And it's going to be embedded in pretty much any IT tool that we use. I mean,
Mm,
I wouldn't be surprised if it's in like a ticket. If you go and buy a ticket at a train, and there'll be some kind of need for prompt engineering, right? I want to do this journey here. You're going to have to think of the type of language you use and the type of questions that you ask for to get the
mm,
right answer, to get the thing that you need. So those skills are all problem solving skills, and we all need to have those sort of essential skills to help us with these tools, because they aren't going away. They're going to be here, and we're going to see them more and more. But that I definitely think that skill is just, yes, it's going to be a job. It probably will be somebody's job, but I think it's going to be almost everyone's job.
There is this, so I always think of this in my mind, sort of like a Venn diagram of skills. So I do like your product placement with your mug, your company mug, fantastic. There's a whole lot of psychology is going into how people ask questions. So there's psychology, then is the use of developing of the system. So there is quite a lot going on there. Um, it's an evolving world. So I think within the education system, I do think more examples need to be given, real world examples. And I say this because having a background where we've both taught computing and computer science and ICT, all these strands of tech, I do think in preparing young people for the world of work and also to support educators, we do need to give more real world examples. So, why are we teaching this? And here are the examples of where it's used. And I think that sort of relatability of tech, well, is one of the reasons that I've got technology books for children as a charity. It's to normalize and make tech really relatable. I think it's very, very important to do that.
Yeah, and getting young people to think about what problems they want to solve in their sort of daily
Mm.
lives and how they can use tech to help them. So, for example, like the Python tends to be the programming language that's used in GCSE. For it varies, but that tends to be the most popular one. And a lot of the time, it's taught in a very sort of text-based way, and like traditional games are used, like a text-based adventure game or that kind of thing. But kids can't really relate to a text-based adventure game these days, unless you've seen one and you've used you're from that specific subset of people that
Mm.
still know what one is. But actually, if we use those same skills to do something like different, so for example, you want to track who's unfollowed you on YouTube on your YouTube channel, right?
That very
Because
important thing, okay?
yeah, who hasn't followed you? Well, you can write a Python script to do that, and you can use text files, and you can set it up to track who was following you and who's now not following you, and it'll bring up the names. These usernames have stopped following you. Maybe that is more real world. I don't know. I'm just plucking this out of my head as an example, and young people might not be interested in that at all. Like they might be interested in something else, but it's something real worldy that's more relevant to their lives than a text-based adventure game, but it uses the same skills.
But that taps into a certain part of our psyche straight away. And
Yeah.
maybe it's me being slightly, more. It's like, I want to know that. That's fun. But
Yeah.
tell you what, that will not have a nice sort of link with cybersecurity.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's how we introduce
And
these.
responsible use.
Uh,
And actually, is it good for your mental health to know the answer to that question? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. Like if you're somebody who sits and gets themselves in knots thinking, oh, I've lost 10 followers, who are they? And you spend a lot of time thinking about it, if it makes you feel better for an app that you've made to tell you, and you're like, oh, actually they were just bot accounts,
mm,
does it really matter? But then if they were like your friends or something and they had then that's a different story, isn't it? So there's lots of but it's interesting, and it gets you talking about technology and what we use it for, and what are the positives and negatives. You've got an ethics conversation in that itself where you can talk about it in like a safe space, and work your way through it with people. So, and that's just one example. There's loads of other
oh,
things
yeah,
that you
absolutely
can do.
loads. Something else that's really big in the news right now is excessive screen time. And is it damaging and
Mm,
harmful to young people?
yeah.
And there's an article in Independent, which is what's triggered this conversation. And we'll share that link later on. And I know that TV parenting expert Sue Atkins is doing a lot of work around delay screens until the age of 14 and being mindful about how much time we spend online. And these are all great initiatives because I think there's enough evidence out there to show that excessive screen time can have detrimental effects. You're literally rewiring your neural pathways, and we're not our communication skills. They're just not what they need to be. So there's lots of damage there, and there's a rise of mental health issues also alongside this. And so our well-being and taking time to connect with others is really important. Connect with others face to face in the real world. Not one of my children said to me, no one talks to anyone anymore. And I'm like, I want to speak to you on the phone. I don't want to have sort of 10 text messages back and forth, and I'm still none the wiser what you're trying to say to me. So I'm always on the phone and going, well, hang on, what do you mean? And we can have
Yeah.
a clear conversation, is what I call it. Maybe I'm just
Yeah.
old fashioned. I don't know.
To know. I do prefer a text. I must say. I don't know why. I don't know why. I think it depends. It depends what the situation is, and like sometimes you do
Okay.
need a phone call. Yeah.
Context.
Yeah. Exactly. It depends on the context.
Okay, so I'm going to throw that one out there. Do you prefer a text or a phone call? What do people think? Well, I think we'll do a quick poll off of that and see
Yeah.
what our listeners think,
Yeah. And just touching on the screen time thing, I think it is unhealthy to be on the same app. So for example, if you're on TikTok for 12 hours in a row, scrolling like this, that is not good for your health. But if you're using the screens for lots of different things, like a variety of activities, so you might be
Mm,
doing a video edit, you might be editing a podcast, you might be doing some digital art on it, you might be learning something new from YouTube. Like varying your activities on a screen is actually that's quite a healthy thing to do, but
mm,
obviously you've got to take your eye breaks, you've got to think about eye strain and things like that.
mhm.
But actually if you're doing lots of different activities on a screen, that's okay for a limited time, as long as you're protecting your eyes and thinking about your seating position and things like that, so that
Yeah,
you're
I'm
sitting
shifting now.
in
Yeah.
a healthy way. But yeah, sitting on a single app like social media app for a long period of time, that is very unhealthy. And that's you need to it's like with everything, we need to learn about balance. We've
Mm.
got to balance these things and balance our use and make sure we are getting our walks outside and we're talking to people in the real world and all those
Oh,
kind of
yes.
things.
Yeah.
But I've set up a whole business remotely. I work my two co-founders work in different areas of the country, and we couldn't have our business if we weren't on screens all day talking to each other. It would be impossible. We couldn't travel to our location every single day,
No, no, absolutely not.
and
No.
I can't imagine having a meeting that isn't online. Like, what are they even like anymore? I just don't. Because, like, if you're sharing a Google Doc or a PowerPoint or whatever, if you've got your own screen and you're looking at your own thing, then you can take notes. You feel like you're more part of it. Whereas if you're in an office and there's one screen and what it I don't know. I feel like it almost feels alien to me now.
Yeah, I mean, with our charities, we do
Mm,
most of our work online because we don't need to meet in person
yeah.
as much, but
Mm,
a couple of times a year we meet and we connect. So
yeah.
I think the word here for me is balance.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
You need the
I,
balance. You need to have those opportunities to see each other in the real world, but use the technology to your advantage as well. But that's what I'm saying. If we didn't have this video, I mean, we wouldn't be having this podcast right now because
no,
I'd
we'd
have
have
had
to
to
travel
drive
to a
down to
location.
Swindon.
Absolutely. Yeah. A
We
couple
wouldn't
of
be able to do
hours.
it.
And yeah, so I think there's potential to do more with less time. I think,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
and that's it. Yeah, so it is about balance, absolutely, and you've got to have your screen breaks and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't think screens are like a bad thing. We've
mm,
just got to learn how to use them in a safe and responsible way. Um, and that's essential, absolutely. And if we don't work with our children to
mm.
learn how to do that, that's when it causes issues.
Well, I think so. Yeah. So perhaps read about this, talk about it, plan what you're going to do as a family, and then this will have an impact and lead to essentially a better society.
Yes, definitely.
We'll find solutions to problems. I want to come back to something we're talking about with the AI and the amount of data that's being used to sort of fuel the AI boom. And I saw a Sky News report last week on energy hungry data centers, and literally it had me captivated. And so we're going to share the link on this, but it's to do with the amount of energy, the amount of water being consumed. Here in the UK, let me get this right. It's Slough has the biggest data center, I believe, in Europe, and the second biggest data center in the world. I hope I've got that right, but I'll
Yeah.
put the link in. And then you've got area around Dublin is literally just full of data centers. So
Mm.
presumably there's some work being created in those areas, but then we've got all of this energy being sucked. Some of these data centers are using more energy than small countries. So
Yeah,
it's
I'm not sure.
massive consumption. And a while back, I wrote an article talking to your children about climate change, which was
Mm,
relevant then and is still relevant now. And I'll share that also. But it's to do with, here's a quick example. Have a look at your phone and look at how many images you've got, how many pictures you've got stored, how many videos you've got, and compare
mm,
it with your family members and your friends and family. Um, and see why do we need to store all of this? How often do we go back and look at it? Because the thing is with storing stuff in the cloud, well, it
mm.
isn't up there in a cloud. It's an
Yeah,
actual physical location, a data center, and they are part of the climate crisis. So
yeah.
where do we go with that?
It's
This is one of the
yeah.
things of living in a tech age.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because I've actually been spending this week backing up I've been doing lots of tidying and I found old hard drives from 2007 and all this kind of stuff with loads of images on, and I'm like, well, what if these images get what if this hard drive gets destroyed or whatever? Like, I need to put it on the cloud. So I sat there doing it on the cloud from these different hard drives, and there were copies of the same image. And I was like, but I don't know which one's the new one. I don't know how, like, I don't know how many copies are, but I did find, and this is awful, I found 5 videos that were exactly the same, copied again and again and again in different backups. And I did take a step back and think, well, hold on a minute. These videos are now all in a data center somewhere, like using electricity, using our resources, and they're copies of things, and this is just me with my files. So, like, there must be billions, not trillions, of copies of images and videos out there. Maybe this is something that, like, I imagine that AI technology is going to help with. Find the copies and delete them. We only need really one copy and a backup, but also I imagine there are lots of images that I don't really need and I never need, like you were just saying.
Hmm.
My my husband, for some reason, when he was taking pictures, he takes like pictures of like birds and
Hmm.
squirrels, wildlife, over and over again. Just like, maybe maybe we only need one picture of a squirrel in this forest. We don't need 50 of the same.
I'm sure he will disagree.
But and that's it. And I was like, oh God, why have we got this? And it is a little bit like out of sight, out of mind, isn't it? Like, if you
Absolutely.
don't
Yeah.
think about those things, you do your recycling, you put things in,
Mm.
you try and be good, but you don't necessarily know what's happening to your recycling once it's left the door and once it's been picked up by local council. You don't know what that story is. Like, is it actually getting recycled? Is it getting rejected? It is like out of sight, out of mind. I've done my job.
That's a good analogy there. What's happening? Where is this image going to be stored? And there's a talk I do around identifying your local data centers, especially
Mm,
for families and for educators, to have these conversations. There isn't a right and wrong. We're just living in this age where we need to address what's going on. And I would encourage anyone not just to buy more space. So I was having a chat with my hairdresser yesterday, and she said my phone is completely out of space. Essentially,
mm,
it started because I introduced her to generative AI. We were
yeah.
having this conversation as you do, and I said, "Have you
Mm,
done it?" And she goes, "No, my phone is out of space." And but she said she had taken a decision to delete videos
mm,
as opposed to just buying more space data there. And I thought that was a very good and wise decision, because the thing is, when you have the ability to just pay and get more, then
mm,
it's so far out of your mind, and you're not seeing it, but there is an impact.
yeah.
So I'll throw it out there to our listeners. Do you delete, or do you just buy more space and it's just shoved out there? It's a problem. You don't see it. It's sort of not on your doorstep.
Mm. Oh yeah, and this is it, and it's absolutely. But again, it's having the time to sift through all those images to know, well, which ones do I want to keep, and which ones are copies. So if an
Mm,
AI tool could go, okay, well, these, I'm pretty sure I was talking to my husband about this, and I think Macs have this ability to find copies and tell you, so you can choose to delete them. So the technology already exists, but it would be great if AI could just go through all of your data and say, this is where all the copies are. Do you want me to delete them? Yes or no? But also, these are all the images that I think are relevant to you,
Mm,
and then show them you. And you can click yes or no. I want to keep them, I don't. Because
mm.
if it can pick, it could go through. I'm 100% convinced that an AI could go through 1,000 images of birds that are in a forest and tell me which ones are the best quality and which ones I should keep and the ones that don't.
Yeah,
We
it should
know
be. Yeah.
the technology is there now to do that. And
Mm.
it just needs to show me, right, these are the pictures that I'm going to get rid of, thumbnails or whatever. Do you want to get rid of them? Yes. And that's going to help clean up this, so just stop it from happening. I know then you've got training the models in the background, there's all the data you need
I
to
was
train.
going to say that, yeah.
It's just like, I know, but at least it would help with those kinds of things, and then it would save you time. So let help us go faster. That's what we need, use technology for, to help us go faster. And then hopefully then people would do it. But it is going to be the new problem, like recycling plastic. It is that kind of problem. Like plastic is in all of our seas now, and fish have got it in
Mm,
their body, all those horrible things.
yeah.
Same thing is going to happen with technology. There being too much data saved in all these storage centers. And how do we solve the problem? Well, we just build another data center, and another one, and another one, and another one. And that's not how we solve the problem. We need to figure out how to get rid of some of this data. So yeah, it's exhausting thinking.
It is. I know, but I mean, my mind is. I do think this is what we need to be talking about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we're just sort of using lots of water to cool the data centers and the energy consumption, there is going to be an environmental impact that we cannot. Some we can see right now, and there are
Mm,
others that we cannot foresee. So I
yeah.
really do think we need to keep that at the forefront of our minds. And I'm
Yeah.
just looking here at my list of jobs. There are new jobs related to that. Sustainability officer. I'm sure there's
Hmm.
lots more you can build out from around that,
Yeah.
around the climate crisis. But we've been chatting for a while now. It's been really, really great. So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, what else is going on in the world of tech? There's only one more from me. There was a headline a couple of weeks back with the NVIDIA CEO saying there's no need to code anymore. And of course,
Mm,
there's lots of conversation around that. And I thought it comes back to something you were mentioning earlier about problem solving. So
yeah.
the sensational headline is there is no need to code anymore. However, I'll give you an example. I'm not a coder as such, but I do understand what I'm looking at, well, to a
Mm,
certain degree. So here's an example. I was using the Elementor WordPress plugin, and I needed to essentially change just bullet points to a different color to the text.
yeah.
And the AI, the little wizard pops up, and I just type in what I wanted. I didn't know the code, but I just typed it in and it gave me the code snippet. And I thought, wow, it literally did it like that. So,
Mm,
but because I knew what I wanted, then I was able to supply the correct prompt.
yeah.
Okay, so back to the prompt engineering. But if you didn't know what you wanted, then you would be stuck. So it isn't that you don't need to learn how to code, you're going to be using other skills. This is why we need to be reading and talking and exploring what other skills do we now need in this world of tech. And I was really impressed with that feature of generating a code because I've taught coding in the past. I know my limitations. It's one thing I don't particularly like in the world of tech so
Mm,
much. For me, you're either a coder or you're not. It's either your thing or it isn't. And it goes back to what you're talking about learning in Python. You do need to learn the basics, absolutely. But then it's how you deploy them.
yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah. And we do need to train people on problem solving, but also you need to know that you need that level of coding knowledge to see where it's gone wrong. Because
Debugging,
and
yeah.
it is the debugging side of it. Can I ask the right questions to generate the code that I need? But
Mm,
then do I have the skills to debug when something has gone wrong? You can't just accept that the code you've been given is correct. You have to test
True.
it. So
Yeah.
if you've got it to make it blue and it's coming up pink, you need to know, okay, well, clearly somewhere in this code it's saying pink instead of blue. Can I identify where that is? And
Right.
probably a hex code was wrong. But you need to have those skills, those problem solving skills, those debugging skills, and able to do that. So I
Mm.
definitely think we are still going to need coders. We always need coders. And Fortran is a language that is kind of like a lost language, but actually, if you know how to code in Fortran, you can earn quite a lot of money at the moment because there are still government systems out there that are built on this language, and not many people know how to code in that anymore. And
Mm.
so there's always going to be a need for those sort of niche things that's never going to go away. But the thing that the majority of us are going to need is those problem solving skills, asking the right questions, getting the technology to do the thing that you need it to do, and that takes training, that takes skills. Like you've got to develop those skills, and we're all going to need them more and more. And this is what we mean by embracing technology, but also being aware of the pitfalls around it and how to protect yourself, um,
Mm.
from and be a responsible user of tech as well.
Oh, well, I think we're going to end on that note. I mean, being a responsible user of tech, that is what we're promoting and sharing our journey through the world of tech and our insights. And it's been so, I just always enjoy our chats. And I hope our listeners are also enjoying our chats and do share their thoughts with us. I am Beverly Clarke, and you can follow me online at Ms. B Clarke, and also reach out on LinkedIn if you'd like to speak to me. And our podcast here is at TechJourney Insights, and we're ending with my co-host.
Yeah, so I'm Rebecca Franks, and you can find me at Franks Becky High on Twitter, and I think I'm on Instagram, but I never quite know. And LinkedIn is the professional way to get in touch with me.
Absolutely. LinkedIn is our preferred professional platform, but we do take comments on Twitter and Instagram and our TikTok channel also, and
Yeah.
do like and share, subscribe. We do put out a few YouTube clips, but thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll see you very soon on another episode of Tech Journey Insights.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.